The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk on this Monday night, the Monday after another big weekend of football, big weekend of baseball, another big weekend for the playoffs in NASCAR. We're down to the final 4 races in NASCAR. We're down to the final 8 drivers in the playoffs. But we're about football tonight here on Sports Talk as we look back to the weekend where South Carolina went to Tennessee and they got hammered. I know it's 45-20, maybe looks kind of respectable. They got hammered. You're down 28-0. You're down 35-0. That's getting hammered. I think Tennessee got bored in the second half. Defense finally figured out some things that Tennessee was doing, but I think Tennessee kind of turned the wick down, I think you could say, in that second half and just sort of let that game play out until it got to, if South Carolina had made that 2-point conversion, it would have been a 16-point game. And they did get the ball back again, but that didn't happen, and that didn't happen after that either. So we'll talk all about this game. I want to get your thoughts on it. I want to get your thoughts on some of the play calling. I know that's low-hanging fruit in talking about this South Carolina game against Tennessee because of what happened on the Gamecocks' third possession. But you know what? It needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. The Gamecocks are 3-3 at the midway point of the season. And, you know, the one thing I said in the preseason that I think will turn out to be accurate, not much else I've said about the Gamecocks has turned out to be accurate. I did say they'd win more than 3 games. So if they beat Vanderbilt and they're 24-point favorites, I think, or 20. I think it started at 24, dropped to 20 or something like that. They'll have 4 wins. That might be it when you look at the rest of the schedule, considering what Texas A&M did to Alabama over the weekend, Florida being Florida. Auburn at home is possible. I'm going to put that one in the possible category. Missouri out there. You know, those could be your 2 wins that you need to get bowl eligible. You beat Vandy, you beat Auburn, and you beat Missouri. You go 6-6. In all likelihood, you won't beat Clemson again yet. I don't think that's going to happen because I think Clemson, we'll see what happens up at Syracuse Friday. We'll be up there for that. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting because this Syracuse team has some very interesting parts. They have a quarterback, Schrader, who was heavily recruited by South Carolina out of Charlotte. He's a runner and a thrower. He went to Mississippi State originally, and he's looking very good. And they have a running back who's the leading rusher in the ACC and number 2 nationally. They can run the football. They ran the football very well this past weekend, though they came up with a very close overtime loss to Wake Forest. If Wake Forest is all that, and they are undefeated, if Wake Forest is all that, and Syracuse took them to overtime, Clemson had better be ready to play some darn good football. We'll talk about that looking ahead. We're going to look back at South Carolina, Tennessee, and other things over the weekend. Phil Kornblut here with Pat Daniel in Columbia. Chris Bergen from his palace in Florence joining us after having Friday and Saturday off after working on Thursday out in Arkansas. Good to have you back with us.
Whoa. I worked Friday. On the show and also had high school football that night.
Oh, that's right.
The scoreboard show.
That's right.
So don't sell me short.
I
did work. I slept a good bit Friday off and on.
Yeah.
But
well, when I think working, I was
Friday.
thinking working Saturday because you're normally working Saturday during the football season.
True.
So I'm thinking that and I'm not thinking about Friday night. But you're right. I should I owe you an apology for that. So I humbly apologize.
No
Zach Willis will be with us to talk about things from his perspective. South Carolina, Tennessee. Braves have won today. Braves won 3-0. We'll talk a little bit more about that as they take a 2-1 lead in the NLDS with Milwaukee. White Sox and Houston rained out in Chicago, and they'll play tomorrow. Well, it was a great game last night in Chicago between Houston and Chicago. Of course, Red Sox won, unfortunately, last night, and so they can win their series tonight. San Francisco and the Giants moving to L.A. tonight. So a lot of great baseball taking place. And the race at Charlotte at the Roval And Larson with another win, his 7th of the year. So now we're down to 8 finalists for the championship, 3 races to get to the Final Four. Best thing out of that race was that after the race was over, Kevin Harvick was asked about hitting Chase Elliott, and he told the reporter, "Well, do you remember Bristol?" So I mean, he admitted it was payback. He admitted it, and that feud's going to continue for a while. So
Phil, I can hardly wait until KT's on tomorrow because I want to ask, what's the NASCAR rule? How big does your car have to be to run? I mean, Chase Elliott ran basically a half a car for the majority of that race yesterday, and it's remarkable he was able to maneuver himself into the Elite Eight, if you will. I know that's an NCAA term, but because, I mean, his car was considerably damaged, and I guess it's somewhat fortunate if you're a Chase Elliott fan that Kevin Harvick spun out late in the race as well. We're not even talking about this. So the feud between Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott, unfortunately, now that Harvick's out of the mix, I don't know that it will carry over, but that's a good storyline for NASCAR that it needs. Unfortunately, Harvick's not going to be in the playoffs. So does he try and wreck Chase Elliott when they come to Martinsville on the final cut before we go to the Final Four out in Phoenix?
If not sooner? That is a good question. In fact, I had the same thought in my mind for KT tomorrow night, and that is, is there any kind of a gentleman's agreement that when you're out of the playoff contention and you still have a grudge with somebody who is in the playoffs, do you set that aside and not intentionally take a guy out of championship consideration? Is there some kind of a gentleman's agreement there among those guys? That'd be a good question for KT. All right, so South Carolina, Tennessee, I gave you kind of my overview. I mean, look, you don't fall behind 35-0 and consider yourself prepared to play a football game. I mean, the dumb thing they did when they were down 14-0, had a chance to make it 14-7. That's just inexcusable. Not a single coaching excuse, and I've heard them all since Saturday. None of that's acceptable. None of it. I mean, a guy with as little football knowledge as me or my dog would know when you've got 1st and goal at the 1 and you've run it and thrown a couple of passes, but you've run it down the throat and you've lined up an offensive lineman at fullback and you've looked good and you've made good calls, that you don't veer away from that and do trickeration twice. It just, I tell you what, I don't know, as I tweeted at the moment that happened live, I don't know that I've seen 2 worse calls in my life of covering college football. I just don't know that I've ever seen 2 worse calls. The first one was bad enough. Then you compound it with the second one. Now, look, if either one of them happened to work, you'd be saying, hey, what a genius, what a great call. No. I mean, the genius call, the smart call was to turn and hand the ball off to Kevin Harris 4 times. If it took 4 times, then you hand it off to him 4 times for a yard, 36 inches, the length of my left arm. That's all you needed. You make that game 14-7, you might have a chance. Momentum changes. And then what happened? Tennessee goes right down the field because the defense just said, you know what? The heck with it. I mean, I really think they just lost their mojo. 21-0. Then you fumble on your very next snap. And 3 plays later, I think it was, they're in the end zone again. It's 28-0. Then they tacked on another one to make it 35-0. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing against Tennessee's offense defensively for that entire first half. You can't tell me they had a plan, that they had a clue on how to slow down Tennessee. And I'll say this about Tennessee. They get better on defense. They believe in their offense right now. They believe in that quarterback Hooker. He's got that offense down pat. That's going to be a tough offense for anybody to stop. Even your Alabama's coming up here later on this month. That's going to be a tough out now for teams because that offense is really, really good. Even though they did it against Missouri, that's not a bad South Carolina defense that they moved up and down the field on there when they were really concerned about the game. So a lot of things not to like about South Carolina's performance Saturday. Yeah, they did, make some noise in the second half. Looked like they didn't quit. Looked like they played with great effort in the second half and tried to get back in the ballgame. But you can't go on the road, Chris, in the SEC or anywhere, but you can't go on the road in the SEC and build a 35-0 hole for yourself and expect to pull that one out.
I want to circle back to the job Josh Heupel is doing, especially in the transfer portal, in just a second at Tennessee. But I want to talk about that drive that you pointed out that, to me, was the determining factor in the game. It was a 10-play drive. 8 of them were running plays, and that included the Dakereon Joyner fake handoff and run it himself, which everybody in the building knew he was going to do. I think if he hands it to Marshawn Lloyd, Lloyd walks into the end zone untouched. And then you throw the halfback option, who's not even halfback, in Jordan Burch throwing it into the end zone in triple coverage. And let's assume, as you pointed out, let's assume for a moment that play works. And Nick Muse is open, and they score to make it 14-7. What are you telling your offensive line, though, that had driven you down the field basically on the ground, that we don't trust you inside the 5-yard line, especially inside the 2-yard line? You're not going to be able to blow Tennessee off the ball. So our best running back, who led the league in rushing last year, can get in from a yard out. I don't think the risk versus the reward was anywhere close to what Shane Beamer and that entire offensive staff and Marcus Satterfield and those guys felt it was. And for Shane Beamer to come out after the game and say they had that play in and they were going to run it come heck or high water. Once the first time they got inside the 5-yard line, I couldn't believe it.
I thought I was going to explode when I heard that. I mean, to say that you had a pre-planned play called, no matter what the circumstances, when you got inside the 5, I mean, okay, if you had to use some different things to get down there against that defense, okay, but you just lined up and played basic football for the most part, as you just pointed out. They just lined up and played basic football and knocked them off the ball, which I thought, and the play calling was good. Everything was good about that drive until they got to the 1-yard line, and then their brain just shut down.
Hey, guys, I feel like they must never have watched Super Bowl 49, and that's Marcus Satterfield and Shane Beamer. Remember when the Seahawks elected to throw the ball from the 1-yard line with 30 seconds to go against the Patriots, and it was promptly intercepted, and they lost the game? Everybody watching couldn't figure out what the heck just happened. I'm guessing they missed that game.
Yeah.
And you had Marshawn Lynch that should have carried it in for a touchdown for Seattle. And Marshawn Lloyd, I think, would have walked in for a touchdown for the Gamecocks when they brought Joyner in, which made no sense at the time. And then the play for Jordan Burch. And this is not a knock on Jordan. He's doing what he's told to do. But the whole play calling down inside the 5 was just miserable. And that was the game. Now, you can look back and say, well, they lost by 3 touchdowns. Maybe it doesn't matter. No, that turned the entire momentum around, got the crowd back in it because the Gamecocks had pretty much settled in. They had established themselves that they could run against Tennessee. We talked about that last week. They were going to have to be able to run the football. And they started to do it and did a nice job. And the offensive line was playing well, getting into a rhythm. And then you just take them totally out of the mix by bad play calling inside the 5-yard line. I'm like you, Phil. I'll give Shane Beamer and Marcus Satterfield and everybody on that offensive side. They've forgotten more football than I'll ever know, but those 2 play calls, they can't explain.
No, there is no explanation. That's acceptable. They can throw an explanation out there and, lapdog media can accept it and fans can accept it, but objective.
I don't know that the fans have.
Well,
I can't believe how much grief they've gotten, and deservedly so. But from the Gamecock fan base, who are extremely upset over that, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
And I would guess the next 2 hours, that's what we're going to talk about, is those 2 play calls inside the 5-yard line.
And one more thing about the Gamecock offense here of late is that the deep ball has disappeared. In their first 3 games, really. First 3 games, Eastern Illinois doesn't really count, but it was a game. East Carolina, Georgia, they had good shots down the field. They completed those several of those shots. They had good averages in terms of completion, yards per completion, and yards per attempt, showing that they were really trying to hit the home run ball. Not so much the last couple of games. I think that Doty took 1 deep shot in the first half. I remember going back and watching last night and remember 1 deep shot. But you look at the passing numbers from Saturday, and they ended up averaging 6.4 yards per attempt and 10.3 yards per completion. That's well off. Remember that at one point, Josh Vann was averaging 28 yards a catch. He was among the nation's leaders, and we were all saying, the Gamecocks, their offense has got big play potential. They got, throw it down. But that was with, remember a guy named Zeb Nolan? That was with Zeb Nolan throwing the ball down the field mainly. Luke Doty is getting better. I saw some good things, but until he's able to run, and apparently he's still not 100%, until he's able to run at 100% and turn it loose and do some things with his legs, then he is going to be a handicap, a hindrance at quarterback, because throwing the ball is not his strength. 19 of 31 for 167 yards. He was able to run for a net of 29 yards. So he's got to become a greater threat at running the football, or he's not going to be, at least this year, a very effective quarterback. Look, their longest play of the game was the fake punt. Kai Kroger threw it 44 yards. That was their longest play of the game. What more of an indictment do you need? Our phone number, 888-898-2525. Conversely, Hooker was 17 of 23 for 225, and he also ran for 66. That's what I'm talking about. That's the two-pronged threat you get from that type of quarterback. I would expect that Doty can be that type of quarterback, I guess, when he's healthy. But, he said afterwards that he's still not 100% with his foot, though they say he's healthy and 100%, but apparently he says he's not. And we'll be back to take your calls.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Hunting season is upon us. Major Downer, how do we stay safe?
Smitty, that's a great question. Mistaken for game is a leading cause of hunting accidents each year. So this year, DNR is encouraging everyone to wear hunter orange and use a flashlight when traveling to and from your hunting location in low light. Remember, be safe, be seen.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
Relax on and off the field with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service. If you're looking for low rates, look to Founders. Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
All South Carolinians are now eligible for the COVID-19 vaccines. For help finding a vaccine location in your area, visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110. COVID-19 vaccines are free and don't require ID or insurance. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator or call 1-866-365-8110 to find a vaccine location near you.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at futurescholar.com.
All right, the phone number, 888-898-2525. That's our South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number in the Sports Talk. And did you know that since 2002, more than $829 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund lottery tuition assistance for students attending technical colleges in South Carolina. Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/educationwins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Quick word on the Braves, and that is they won 3-0, all on the swing of pinch hitter Jock Peterson, 3-run homer in the fifth. The pitching made it stand up. Anderson got the win, and Smith got the save. 3-8-0 for the Braves, 0-5-0 for the Brewers. Braves are a game away from advancing.
Happiest guy in a Braves uniform today, Adam Duvall, who made the bonehead base-running blunder when the Braves had first and third earlier in the game with one out. I believe it's Austin Riley at the play or at third was trying to score on a sacrifice fly. And so Duvall thought he'd move up to second. They catch the ball in the outfield, throw Duvall out at second base before Riley can touch the plate. So the run does not count. And the Braves were really, really fortunate that did not cost them today in what has been a series dominated by pitching thus far.
Well, what about that thing with the Red Sox last night? You want to talk about funny plays and lucky teams. Lucky.
Only what happened at Fenway, wasn't it?
Lucky. Luckiest team in the world. And I don't say that with praise or with warm feelings. I mean, just lucky. That's all I got to say. Lucky. Let's go to the phone calls. 888-898-2525. We will take as many calls as we can get to over the next hour and 5 minutes. Andy in Columbia, welcome in. You're up first tonight here on Sports Talk. It's the Monday after.
Hey, fellas. I just had the unfortunate viewing of that pass by Mr. Jordan again on the TV, and it was pretty ruined my dinner. I mean, let me ask you a question. Raheem Bell, to me, seems like he's pretty much the best athlete we have on that offense. Why don't you stack Raheem Bell at fullback and have Mr. Harris at the tailback, and you have either one of those two gentlemen you can give it to 4 times, and I guarantee you'll get a yard. Raheem Bell, that young man's going to get you a yard.
Jaheim with a J.
Jaheim, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
He's going to get you a yard. He fights. I just don't understand the play call.
How many Gamecock fans broke their big screen televisions by throwing a brick at it when they saw that play call being made? I mean, seriously.
Kerryon Joyner, I think, has had how many? 5, 6, 7 runs this year? Every run of them coming out of the Wildcat, and the same thing. He never hems the ball off. Mm-hmm. He keeps it and runs each time.
Well, Beamer said yesterday it was supposed to be a pass. It was supposed to be an option pass. It did not look to me like he was interested in throwing the football. If it was supposed to be a pass, he didn't give the play much time to develop because, he faked the handoff and took off running, and he was tackled immediately.
Well, it's too bad they didn't reverse those and have the one have Burks be the option pass and actually run the ball and not try to throw the ball, because if you have a 280-pound young man, I would think that he'd be able to come around that corner and be able to make a little bit of yardage.
Well, I mean, if you want to make Jordan Burch a hero there, then line him up at tailback, give him the football, put him behind Jones, the big offensive lineman you had in there before. Put those two back. Make that your Rhino package, your Jumbo package, your Big Cock package, whatever you want to call it. And what?
You think that?
And let him give him the ball
go over well,
and let him crash into the line
on the back of the cheerleaders' little shorts back there.
Well, I mean,
you want them to call something the Big Cock package?
I'm just telling you, that's what you do. That is what you do.
Oh, I hope y'all have that on tape so we can have that.
I didn't say anything wrong. Look it up in the dictionary. That's a totally acceptable word. It's in the dictionary as a bird that fights to the death. That's the definition of it. I can't help it if you got your mind in the gutter. Not my mind is not in the gutter.
Since Mr. Beamer happened to be part of the Oklahoma coaching staff of last year, I hope he'll be looking at that portal awful hard if Mr. Rattler happens to make an entry into it, because we need something from that portal and a quarterback, and not somebody from a Division III, Division II, or an FCS team. We need someone that knows what they're doing out there, because I agree with Coach Ellis Johnson that the person we have right now running this team as a quarterback is not going to lead us to the promised land. He's not an SEC quality quarterback from what I've seen and what he's producing. So, just my opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anyway, y'all have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right.
Phil, Andy's talking about the transfer portal. You only have to look at the team you just faced. Josh Heupel has found gold in the transfer portal. They've had players from Alabama and LSU and you name it. I think they had 10 different major Division I prospects that they found in the transfer portal to help them out on that team. You're going to have to recruit out of that moving forward.
Unless your name is Dabo Sweeney, who refuses to take anything out of and Saban. No. Saban took the linebacker from Tennessee. Yeah. I think Dabo's on an island by himself there. We will be back.
Point weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. A clear, cool evening with low temp dipping down to 61. Tomorrow, even nicer than today with mostly sunny skies and a high temp reaching 81. We'll start to warm up on Wednesday with 85-hour high. And summer returns the rest of the week as we hit the upper 80s Thursday and Friday. No rain scheduled. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
When I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, my buddies and I would do anything for each other. That's important whether you're in a firefight or fighting to regain your life. When I came home injured, there are people I can count on, like DAV.
DAV, Disabled American Veterans, stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Officials say more than 30 Cuban migrants were found hiding in a go-fast boat during a traffic stop in the Florida Keys. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office says a deputy pulled over a rental truck towing a trailer with a large vessel in Marathon on Monday morning. During the search, officials say many people were found hiding in the forward V-berth area of the boat for a total of 32 suspected migrants. The driver of the truck told deputies they had been fishing. Officials didn't find any fishing gear on the boat. The migrants were turned over to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. On Wall Street, another down day as the Dow dropped 250 points. The Nasdaq dropping 93, the S&P 500 lower by 30, and oil came above $80 a barrel today. This is SRN News.
Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
Well, how much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Fran Halloran here. What am I looking for when I make a recommendation to you? I'm looking for integrity, ethics, intentionality. When it comes to your mortgage needs, Greg McCoy from Simplified Mortgage Solutions needs to be your only call. There are plenty of national mortgage companies with fancy names and fancy schemes out there. Don't be fooled. Simplified Mortgage Solutions will meet or beat any national lender's proposal. Greg is local, and I love local. Born and raised in the Midlands of South Carolina, Greg will treat you as if you are his only client as you go through the mortgage process. Simplified Mortgage Solutions specializes in conventional, VA, USDA, and FHA mortgages. They can do it all. I trust them, and so can you. I've worked with Greg for a while now, and everyone I've referred to him has thanked me after the fact. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com or just call Simplified Mortgage Solutions at 803-722-6044. That's 803-722-6044 and tell them the Money Coach sent you.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
Deer season is here and we all want to be successful, but our safety should come first.
A simple way to stay safe is to wear Blaze Orange as you walk to and from your stand.
Probably the best way to stay safe is to wear a safety harness.
Put it on, hook it up to your lifeline, and let the tree keep you safe from a fall during your hunt.
Lastly, always use your binoculars and not your rifle scope to look at and identify things while you're deer hunting. Woods and Water, South Carolina, your host Roger and Taylor Metz want you to be around to enjoy many deer seasons to come.
Just remember, the accident you might prevent, the life you might save, just might be your own.
Someone will be right with you.
All right, we're
we're back on Sports Talk here on this Monday after USC lost to Tennessee around the state of South Carolina. Of course, Coastal Carolina, they played on Thursday. They took care of their business. Still number 15 in the major polls that came out on Sunday. No movement for them. Of course, Clemson's still out of the AP poll, and the Tigers dropped to 25th in the coaches poll, so they are barely hanging on. Also, over the weekend, Furman picked up a nice win for them at Wofford, so Wofford continues to struggle. Presbyterian lost to Morehead State. South Carolina State was beaten at Florida A&M. Charleston Southern lost at Robert Morris. Newberry got a win against Virginia Wise. Citadel lost to the best team in the SoCon, East Tennessee. They were really good. Erskine lost at Savannah State. North Greenville lost to West Florida. Limestone lost to Wingate. Benedict won at Miles. And Allen was a loser at Clark Atlanta. So not a whole lot of success. Furman got a win. Coastal got a win. Newberry got a win. And Benedict got a win. There you go.
And the Gamecocks just could not beat Tennessee in anything over the weekend. They lost in volleyball and also women's soccer. It falls over the weekend as well.
You just have to pile on, don't you?
I'm just pointing it out. It was not a good weekend. It was a good week for the Tigers to be off, you know. Clemson picked a really good bye week.
I guess. I mean, when you consider, Alabama went down. Oklahoma nearly lost to Texas. They had to have a huge rally. Iowa got a great win over Penn State. That was a heck of a ball game. Of course, Georgia clearly looks like the best team, or at least a team that's playing the best. I don't know if they're the best team player for player, but they're the team that's playing the best. No matter who you roll out in front of them. You got to take Kentucky seriously now. I mean, that was a very solid win for them at home over LSU. They run the ball extremely well. Can they run the ball that well against Georgia this Saturday? That's going to be their test. If they are able to, they'll have a chance. Their quarterback was very efficient in that win over LSU, something like 13 of 17. That's what the running game allows you to do.
If you had a vote and they voted this week for SEC Coach of the Year, does it go to Kirby Smart? Does it go to Mark Stoops? Or does it go to Sam Pittman at Arkansas?
Well, I think Pittman's the bloom has come off of that with those 2 straight losses.
Right.
I think right now the voting begins and ends with Smart and with Stoops. And probably just depends on what happens the rest of the way. I mean, right now, you'd have to vote for Stoops because, Georgia's supposed to kind of be where they are, and Kentucky's not. So he's done a lot with what wasn't expected. So, and they've been they weren't dominant at South Carolina. The Gamecocks had a chance to win that game, possibly. But pretty much everywhere else, they've been pretty much dominant over their opponents. All right, let's get back to your phone calls. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Hank in Columbia, you are up next. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you? Hello, Hank.
Hello?
Hey, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's Smart would be Coach of the Year right now. Stoops, Kentucky's done well.
You wouldn't agree with me if you were going to make $1,000 for agreeing with me. You'd find some way to disagree with me.
I just know you still owe me a lunch, but I'll say just on the Kentucky thing, though. I mean, the LSU.
I'm waiting on you to call me up or text me and say, "Hey, I'm ready for lunch. Let's meet. I'm happy to do it anytime."
I will at time. Yeah, the LSU thing. I don't know how much I give Kentucky that much because they were at home and LSU is clearly a mess right now. But in the Florida game, even though they got the win, I think Florida outgained them by 170 yards. It's just Florida was penalty happy. You look back at the stats of that game and you take the teams off, you never know who won it. But I wanted to talk about the Gamecocks scoring.
Go right ahead.
I'm going to do it the opposite way this time so you know where my feelings are. Actually, I am going to agree with you on something. I'm going to start off with the positive and finish up with my negative. And I will say this. I wouldn't say that the game wasn't, when it was at 38-20, that it wasn't Tennessee trying, because right out of the gate in the second half, Tennessee kind of started off the drives the same way. But one of the issues that they had was the thing that, for the only thing I'll say about the defensive coordinator was that they decided to move those corners up. And then all of a sudden, Tennessee had a couple of drops from receivers who were wide open when they were getting those 10 and 15-yard cushions in the first half or the first quarter. Because actually in the second quarter, remember Carolina held them down. They only scored once in that second quarter, and that was right there toward the end.
Yeah, but it was 35-0 at that point before South Carolina scored.
Yeah,
you wonder. I mean, it's only natural a team's going to lose its edge a little bit. Go ahead.
And and quickly, if I may,
I'm gonna get to that where that came up on though. Like I said, there were things that I thought that would take the defense kind of. That happened, and that second play call with Birch, Corn, that really changed the whole game. I don't know that South Carolina would have won because I thought in this game Tennessee might have had just a little bit more offense to beat South Carolina. But when it was 14-0, just like you said, and they had those two horrible play calls, you remember it got to 28-0 within about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Because Tennessee hit 3 plays. You know, it was kind of like the defense kind of hung their head for a second there, and so Tennessee goes 75 yards in like 3 plays. And then
no, they went 80 yards. They went 80 yards in 5 plays, a minute 18. And then they got a fumble recovery, and they went 24 yards in 3 plays in 33 seconds. So in less than 2 minutes, they knocked in 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and that last touchdown, remember, that was just a product of Doty fumbling the center on the 20-yard line. They only went 20 yards for that next touchdown. So my issue was, like I said, I think Carolina could play better, and they showed some flashes. But you go back to that call. That call to me kind of changed the whole timbre of the game because, one, you ran it all the way down the field, as you said, Corn. And they were using the fullback, which allowed Kevin Harris to line up like last year, deep in the eye, and he was getting downhill. When you make that call, if the players were thinking we're going to man up, the offensive line is thinking we're going to man up, that call just told the offensive line, I don't trust you, and I don't trust the running back, because we're going to go to a gimmick. And I think it really ticked them off. I mean, I think it would take the players off that you get all down there, and it's 4th and 1. So I think the coaches took the team out of the game at that point more than the team took themselves out of the game, and that's I mean, it just infuriates me for the coaches to take it, because this is, and I guess this is the growing pains you have to do with a young coaching staff, because when you got down to Corn, you remember back when Spurrier was here and we went to, it was Arkansas or somewhere, or it might have been Alabama, and he threw the fade to Alshon like 4 times, and I think Alshon caught it on the 3rd time for a touchdown or something, and he said, why'd you throw it? He said, because he said, I know it was the right play, and it wouldn't be 4 times that they were going to stop him from getting it. You hand the ball to any of your running backs for 1 yard.
Look, and thank you for the call. We got to go. Thank you. And you're right. They did struggle to beat Florida. They were actually outgained, as you said. So that was not a dominating win by Kentucky, a resourceful win by Kentucky. So you are correct once again, Hank. I hate it when Hank calls.
He's real quick.
Always correcting me on something. But let me just say this. I mean, I don't know, man. It's football 101. It's football 101. I mean, you're at the 1-yard line, 1st down. Maybe, okay, look, I'll give you trickeration on the first play. No, I take that back. I'm sorry. You try and hit it up the middle the first 2 plays. If they stone you the first 2 plays, okay, then you can go digging into your playbook of tricks and try something. If they stone you the first 2 times, I get it. You didn't even give it a try to run it up in there with your big running back and your big fullback ahead of them. So that was just disaster, Chris, just absolute disaster.
May cut Clayton White a little bit of slack. Hank was talking about their play, and especially in the first half. Now, again, this is a small sliver of slack, but how much is missing R.J. Roderick in that secondary as your safety, and also Cam Smith not being available for the entire game? You got Roderick back in the second half, too little, too late, but how much do you believe that affected them in the back end of that defense?
Probably did. Yeah, probably did. In fact, Beamer pointed that out yesterday, that how much better the secondary got when Roderick was back there. And yeah, they were missing Cam Smith as well. This is true. This is true. And those are two starters. And but what can you say? You still had 9 other players on the field, and altogether they weren't doing their. – 33 seconds to score. Their drive that for the 35th point was 1:43, 5 plays, 76 yards. Their last drive was 3:06, 6 plays, 41. Their last drive for a touchdown. So I don't know. I mean, I can't believe the absence of those two.
I would agree.
Make all that difference. Plus, they practiced all week without Roderick. It wasn't like Friday they found out. They knew all week he wasn't going to play in the first half. And they may have known all week about Cam Smith as well. So, this is why you have backups. This is why you have guys that practice. And, poor David Spalding got beat twice badly in that first quarter on just pass routes. He just got beat. Or, maybe it wasn't his responsibility, but he got caught in the picture. Maybe somebody else blew a coverage and he just got over there and was in the picture. So, a lot of blame to go around there when the game was still up for grabs for as short a period of time as that was.
And until Carolina gets better on third down defense, Phil, it's not going to matter who's out there. I mean, you can't go 12 of 17 your opponents on third down conversions. You got to get off the field, and that has been a problem for them for the last several years. This is not something new. Carolina couldn't get off the field last year. Part of the reason Will Muschamp is no longer here. But they've got to improve on third down efficiency on defense and on offense. And they were only 7 of 16 on third downs offensively.
Yep, not good. All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. We will continue to roll with your phone calls. After this break, we'll continue with calls into the next hour. Zach Willis at the bottom of next hour. Monday night with Mick. With the Panthers going into a slide. I saw a story today suggesting strongly that the Panthers owner is going to make a move for Deshaun Watson because Darnold is not the guy.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history. And with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
In Irmo, call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171.
Well, after this past weekend, I would suggest that all Gamecock fans, they need a vacation. You got 2 more weeks to go before you get to the break in the schedule. So go ahead and make your plans now to get away from it all. And by that, I mean getting to the beach and enjoying this very nice, I don't know, what do we call this? Spring-like light summer weather here in October, whatever, 75, 80 degrees. Man, it's great along the coast. It's great at Pauley's and Litchfield. Call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty, 843-237-4246. Let Jimmy put you up in a great condo, in a house if you need something larger. If you want to purchase a property, Jimmy's got a full-service, huge operation with more than, like 25 or 30 salespeople to work with you, clients by the hundreds, if not the thousands. He is the man to go to. Pauley'sVacationRentals.com is the place to visit. 843-237-4246. You know what? It's not too soon to make your plans for the summer, too, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Now would be the time. After going through this past year, trying to book a vacation during the summertime and starting in January or February, where you realize, gosh, stuff is already being booked up. Don't take that chance. Go ahead. You have a pretty good idea when school's going to be out and you can get on vacation. Now would be the time.
843-237-4246. Your perfect beach getaway at James Smith Realty. Just ask for Jimmy. He'll take good care of you. All right, back to your phone calls. 888-898-2525. We appreciate your patience. It is the Monday after, so it takes a little while to get to everybody. We go to Ron in Charleston. Ron, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How about yourself?
We're great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I was watching the Braves game. Of course, I watched the Carolina game over the weekend, but watching the Braves this afternoon, and man, when Adam Duvall, when that happened, that he got thrown out a second, I had a flashback to the Carolina game. Good gosh, you can't win around here in the South. But anyway, you guys are spot on with your analysis of that game and the play calling and I know Carolina, they are what they are, but you expect a little bit more because they got the potential. You can see the potential there. But the question, I listened to I guess it was the post-game interview with Coach Beamer, and you asked him that question. And man, I know you're good. That's what you do, but that was a great question. I want to compliment you because it was right on. You went right to the meat of the matter, and you asked him exactly what he needed. No one else would ask him, but anyway. I wanted to hear what he said, and I know he's got to paint a pretty picture on it, but he didn't have a good answer because there's no way you're going to, like you said, you can't have a pre-planned. Oh, I'm going to run this play come hell or high water. Like you said, anybody who's with limited football knowledge would know. That's what you're doing. You're the ugliest girl to dance. You can't get cute right there. Run the ball.
Right. I totally, and thank you for your phone call. I totally, his answer was that he has the authority, of course, as the head coach. Everything goes through him, and he can change the play. He has the authority to change the play. He agreed with the play call. He said so in the postgame. He agreed with the play call. So, it's on them. It's on the coaching staff. They made the call. It didn't work. If it had worked, it would have been great. If it had worked, it would have been great. But I think you hit it on the nail earlier, Chris, when you said risk and reward. It didn't add up. The risk of doing that did not add up to the reward would have been the touchdown,
sure,
but the potential for disaster was very high in both of those calls.
Well, and also, who's to say you couldn't have run it in from the 1 yard line if you just hand it off, as we've been talking all night long? And Hank brought up the point. What did that tell your offensive line? Yeah. Well, we've got no faith in you guys. We've got to trick our way into the end zone. So even if it worked, even if they had scored, the offensive line has to trot off the field thinking, well, why couldn't we have just blown them off the football as you pointed out, 3 feet.
36 inches.
Yeah,
the length of my arm. I mean, seriously, it does not. We try to make football out to be, something that you have to have a PhD in engineering and, have to be a NASA scientist to figure it out. A lot of football is just very simple, isn't it? It's just very simple, very, just line up and hand the ball to your all SEC running back, who at that point had not scored a touchdown this season. He ended up scoring 2 in the game. But I liked what they did by taking Trey Jones and putting him at fullback. That was a very smart move. That's, and then you line him up behind that and you crash him into the line. And I'll give you 99.9% chance on 4 tries they score a touchdown if they don't fumble the snap. Now, Doty getting up under center has become a real concern because he fumbled it twice. I think he fumbled it twice under center. That's not been easy for them. Still, I'd rather try that than what they ended up doing, which obviously did not work. Back to the phone calls we go, 888-898-2525. It is Coach D.A. Coach D.A., also in Charleston. Good to have you with us, Coach.
Hey, first of all, want to say thank you to you for your show. It's outstanding. I listen to it every day, and definitely listen to you at 10 o'clock on Friday night to give the high school. So I really appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
So first of all, as we always know, when a team loses, the first thing they want to do is fire the coach and the coaching staff. So, and of course, I'm glad y'all didn't say that because he's got to get his own players, and then hopefully 2 to 3 years, South Carolina can do better. But I have a question for you. I think the best coach in Columbia is in Irma.
Tom Knotts?
Yes, sir. That's
He may be the best coach in the state, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know y'all give him a lot of credit. And down here in Charleston, I do a little sports show here, and I just tell people all the time, because like, why you always talk about this guy? I said, well, Google him and you'll see why I talk about him. Because what he's doing is absolutely crazy, because we know what he did in North Carolina. Everybody knows. And then to come to Dutch Sport, I never heard nothing about Dutch Sport until him. I know they had good basketball. I know the coach, I think, went there for his women's basketball. He went to South Carolina. But what he's doing is absolutely crazy. And to win 56, 57 games in a row, and we're talking about 5A, it's crazy.
Now, unbeaten. They were tied in there somewhere. I think it's 56 game unbeaten. Now, Dutch Fork, excuse me, Dutch Fork, Bill Kimry was the original. Is he the original coach? Bill Kimry was there for many years, and they had success. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, they may have even won a state championship or played for one. But, I mean, nothing like what they're enjoying now. I mean, not only are they just winning, they just blow everybody away. It's like, there's just nobody on the field that can stay with them. When and if they play Gaffney, that will be perhaps a very interesting matchup. Or when and if they play Fort Dorchester. Those appear to be, at this point in time, about the only 2 that look like they can stand up and play with them. And even then, we don't know if they can play with them.
Yeah, I don't think Fort will be able to, because, Goose Creek was 1 play and 1 yard away.
Yeah, they were.
Friday night.
They sure were. Did he score? Did he score?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He didn't. So, but anyway, I appreciate you taking my call, and keep up the great work.
We thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I want to say this, going back to the offensive line, Chris, that was a good caller earlier who was talking about offensive linemen feel like they lost faith with those calls. They changed 3 offensive linemen in the second half. The original tackles were Turnentine and Wanham, and then Lee was starting at guard. They had 3 different players in those positions playing a good bit of the second half. I don't know if that's because those guys just weren't performing or what, and some of those guys played pretty decently in the second half, to be honest. Okay, we'll be back.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. A Navy nuclear engineer with access to military secrets has been charged with trying to pass information about the design of American nuclear-powered submarines to someone he thought was a representative of a foreign government, but who turned out to be an undercover FBI agent. Correspondent Eric Tucker reports Jonathan Toby is accused.
He would leave behind the memory card. In one instance, he left it between pieces of bread on a peanut butter sandwich that was wrapped in a plastic bag. More recently, he put it inside of a chewing gum package.
Toby was arrested in West Virginia on Saturday along with his wife. It's not immediately clear whether either Toby has a lawyer. Senator Joe Manchin says he won't budge on his defense of the filibuster.
After Republicans agreed to a 2-month debt limit extension, Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell announced he's done compromising on the problem with unyielding Democrats. That could lead them back to square one, seeking to abolish the filibuster in order to raise the debt limit and then pass a massive $3.5 trillion spending bill. Once again, they'll face opposition from West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who says he's made his position clear. He told reporters, quote, "The filibuster is the only thread that we have to keep democracy alive and well in America." Bob Agnew reporting.
Officials in Georgia's most populous county have fired 2 workers over accusing of shredding paper voter registration applications. A Fulton County statement says preliminary information indicates that the employees checked out batches of applications for processing, but instead of fully processing them, they're alleged to have shredded some of the forms. Fellow employees reported the alleged actions to their supervisors Friday morning, and the 2 employees were fired that day. The county reported the alleged actions to the Secretary of State's office and the District Attorney's office for investigation. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 250 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Marquette Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Dixie and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynovite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynovite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynovite, I took the advice from Dynovite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Merck seeks regulatory approval for its anti-COVID pill.
Drug maker Merck has asked U.S. regulators to authorize its promising antiviral pill against COVID-19, setting the stage for a decision within weeks. If cleared by the Food and Drug Administration, it would be the first pill shown to treat COVID-19, adding a new, easy-to-use weapon to the world's arsenal against the pandemic. The FDA will scrutinize company data on the drug's safety and effectiveness before rendering a decision. All COVID-19 drugs now authorized by the FDA require an IV or injection. Mike Hempen, Washington.
Benzin Kipruto won the pandemic-delayed Boston Marathon as the race returned from a 30-month absence and moved to the fall for the first time in its 125-year history. Diana Kipchoge won the women's race to complete the 8th Kenyan sweep since 2000. More at Town Hall.
The Dennis Prager Show weekdays at noon right here on The Point. Take time for a visit to PragerU. We'll tackle today's issues, interview intriguing newsmakers, do some teaching and some learning together on 100.7 The Point and MakeThePointRadio.com.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. I'm here to fill time because, as everyone knows, when a radio station has dead air, Daddy loses money. Albeit these guys are getting such a deal, Daddy's not losing that much money. So take that, Mr. No Raise in 48 years.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we are back, hour number 2 here on Sports Talk. It's the Monday after the big weekend. Glad you're with us. Coming up, Zach Willis, bottom of the hour, 1st and 10 with Zach Willis. Monday with Mick Mixon, voice of the Panthers. Whew, what a bad loss for the Panthers. Packers won. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. Yes, I'll take that win. I'll take that win. No. I'll take that win. I don't care. A win's a win. I'll take it. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. Taking your phone calls. Couple lines have opened up after being slam jammed the entire show, so you can get through if you've been waiting. So in the meantime, we head to Tyler in Conway. Tyler in Conway. Good to have you with us, sir. How are you?
Hey, Phil. I'm all right. How are you?
Good. Thank you for calling in.
I have a two-part question in regards to Coastal Carolina, and I'll take your questions off air.
So you're asking the questions. We'll give you the answers.
That'll work. The first question is, do you think Coastal Carolina will make a bowl game this year? And the second is, do you think Coastal Carolina will ever be ranked in the top 10 with the schedule that they play and the conference that they are in?
Yeah, those are good questions. I'm going to let Chris jump in here too. So,
yes. As a matter of fact, Jamie Chadwell pointed that out in the postgame. They are the first team in the country to get bowl eligible.
Yeah.
They won their 6 games.
Yeah, they'll go to a bowl game. The problem is, the question is, how do they, they didn't go up an inch in the polls this week, coming off another huge win, a road win, a conference win. Their league doesn't get a whole heck of a lot of respect outside of them and Louisiana and Appalachian State. So there just aren't enough quality opponents, and they beat Kansas, a Power 5 team, but Kansas might as well be an FCS team right now. That's kind of where they are as far as the respect they're getting. So it's tough. It's tough to move up in the rankings. They've done a great job, Chris, to get to where they are and to stay where they are. It's just going to be tough for them to chisel away. And, they've got to keep winning and winning impressively. Perhaps if they go up to Boone a week from Wednesday and really deliver a big blow there, they might move up a spot or two, beat Louisiana. Win those 2 games, not stumble anywhere. Maybe they're knocking on the door of the top 10 as they head down the stretch.
The way I think they get into the top 10, it would be at the end of the season if they play somebody ranked above them in a bowl game and beat them. Because, as good a season as they had last year, the glass ceiling for them was number 14. That's where they finished. Now, that was coming off the bowl loss to Liberty. But I just don't see, and this is not an indictment on Coastal. This is an indictment of how G5 programs across the board, with the exception of Cincinnati, are viewed. For the most part, Cincinnati being inside the top 5 is as stunning as Alabama not falling out of the top 5. To see Cincinnati in there having a chance right now to be in the college football playoff, they'll not get in. Let's face it, they're not going to vote them in. But for Cincinnati to be ranked inside the top 5 is a credit to Luke Fickell keeping that program relevant the past several years. I don't think Coastal can get inside a top 10 this year unless they beat somebody that's ranked inside the top 10 in their bowl game, and then a couple of other teams lose. But if you keep knocking on that door constantly, I think ultimately maybe they get a chance to get inside the top 10. I just don't see it this year because App's not going to help them, because App struggled a little bit, at least for their standards. And who knows? Louisiana may not be waiting on them. I anticipate they would be. But Louisiana may not be waiting on them for the Sun Belt title game. So I don't know where they get a whole lot of help from the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, right now, the Chanticleers, you would think their biggest fans right now are of Cincinnati, or they are big fans of Cincinnati. Where I'm going with this, I just looked up the current bowl projections, 2 different websites as of today. The first one has Coastal Carolina playing in the RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl against UAB. but that is because they have Cincinnati outside of the college football playoff. In the other projections, I found out Cincinnati is within the college football playoff, and this one has Coastal Carolina playing Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st.
No.
So quite a difference between the two. So Coastal Carolina fans are pulling for Cincinnati hard right now.
By the way, Chris, if that were to happen, by protocol here at Sports Talk, I would get that assignment. I would do your job with the Chanticleer Network, and you'd be staying home.
I understand. There may also be a conflict with men's basketball that I would have to deal with.
I
volunteer.
I volunteer.
I got lucky last year because the bowl game was the day after Christmas, and so we went down to Orlando for the Cure Bowl on Christmas Day. But yeah, if that were to happen around New Year's, there may be a shot that the Sunbelt has already started, and I may not be available to go anyhow.
I love Glendale.
I'm sure Jamie Chadwell would enjoy having you on the trip.
I love Glendale in January. It's a great place to be. Speaking of Jamie Chadwell and his hair, he'll be with us Wednesday night live at 7:30. Is he bringing the mullet? He'll have the mullet with him.
We need to get him to wear the suit too that he wore to the game Thursday before he changed into his coaching.
And bring
gear.
the chainsaw.
Impressive. Yeah,
have the chainsaw standing by.
Too.
Good Lord. Also tomorrow, by the way, it's a Talking Tuesday. Chris will be at USC. Smitty will be at Clemson. I'll be in Charlotte at the ACC basketball tip-off meeting covering Clemson. So we'll have all that for you on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and everything of importance we'll tweet out. So we got all three of those things covered for you tomorrow right here from Sports Talk. Our new poll question of the week, now that Clemson returns from its bye, going to Syracuse, the Tigers have 7 games left. Will they run the table? 68.8% say, no. 68.8% say no of 186 votes. 31.2% say yes. I don't know. This will be tough up at Syracuse, a Friday night on the turf in the dome. A lot of things that you can point to there. Syracuse is not bad. A few points away from being a 5-1 team. Really good offense. And then you got to play Pittsburgh the next week on the road. You know Pittsburgh is laying in wait, and they've got a really good team. They got an excellent quarterback.
Terrific offense.
Back-to-back
Clemson
games.
does not have.
Back-to-back games. That's turf at Heinz Field too, right? Back-to-back games on the turf, on artificial surface for Clemson. That doesn't happen very often for them. That have to play on artificial turf all that often, I don't think. So we'll see how they handle that. So a couple of dangerous spots ahead. Look, all of a sudden, the way Florida State went into Chapel Hill and beat North Carolina, you kind of have to kind of open your eyes about that game. Oh, by the way, the kickoff times today were announced for Clemson Pitt. That'll be a 3:30 game on either ESPN or ABC. South Carolina, Texas A&M will be a 7:30 kick on the SEC network out at Texas A&M. Texas A&M was fined $100,000 for storming the field after. They don't care. They don't care.
I'll find them $1 million. It's ridiculous. Stay off the field.
I predict they will
you buy
not.
a ticket to be in stands.
I predict they will not storm the field if they beat the Gamecocks in a couple of weeks.
And by the way, Heinz Field is still natural grass.
Oh, it is natural grass.
Yeah, it is still natural grass.
I thought they put turf in there, but okay, it is natural grass. Shows you what I know. 888-898-2525. We go back to your phone calls. Let's go back to smarter people. And it is who we got next. Is it what we got? Robert somewhere. Robert in Columbia. Okay, cool. Robert, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you? Robert, are you there, sir? Okay. You want to try it again?
He just hung up.
Oh.
Robert/Fred. You had 2 names pop up. If you are hearing this, call us back.
2 names pop up.
Not sure what to do with that, but it said Robert/Fred.
All right, let's roll to our break, and we'll come back and give you the recruiting report and take you around the horn and continue with your phone calls. We'll sneak in a few more calls, 888-898-2525. Zach Willis coming up at the bottom of the hour. Visit from Mick Mixon as well. It's been a very hectic, very busy first hour and 15 minutes. Let's keep it rolling that way on this Monday after here on Sports Talk. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
The Southeastern Institute of Manufacturing and Technology, known as SIMT, is ready to meet your 3D printing, machining, and social media listening needs. Our list of clients includes business and industrial partners from around the state, the nation, and the globe. In addition, we are providing social media listening services to a variety of businesses and educational institutions, from large companies to law firms to small rural school districts. The SIMT also rents space for training, conferences, and trade shows. Catering services are available for events being held at the SIMT. We are dedicated to customer service and look forward to serving you. Check us out on the web at simt.com to see a full list of our manufacturing services, or give us a call at 843-413-2740.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
Dirty Harry Lee on our Twitter says the Gamecock should have let the punter throw the pass.
Guy threw a nice pass.
He sure did. Give him credit. And that was, look, as hard as we've been on that play call, that was obviously a fantastic play call for South Carolina. And I kind of had a feeling, I'm not sitting here trying to sound smarter than I am. It's hard to do. But I kind of had a feeling they were going to fake it, because that was right in, around midfield. It's not like Beamer not to go for something like that. They were trailing by a pretty good number. Why not take a swing at it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little surprised that Tennessee wasn't thinking the same way and wasn't in more of a protection than they turned out to be, because the receiver was wide open, and scored the touchdown, 44 yards on that. So heck of a play there.
It evidently stunned many of the Tennessee media that were covering the game that thought the same thing. How could Tennessee not be prepared for that in that situation?
Yeah, brain dead. Let's try Robert again in Columbia, see if we got him this time. Robert, are you with us?
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're doing great, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm sorry I just hung up. You didn't have a call screener, so it weirded me out, and I didn't know if it was somebody else. So
No, it's you.
I hung up. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Hey, question for you. I'm not a diehard Gamecock fan, okay? I was arguing with some friends. Was the Shane Beamer hire? I said, because, they came off owing all this money to Muschamp, and I was like, they could have got all these, Caldwell and the guy from Louisiana Tech and stuff. Was that USC saying, we know we're not going to be that good. We don't want to spend all these millions of dollars, 5-6 wins. We might as well get somebody that knows the program, that people like. If you get 5 or 6 wins, at least we'll be able to keep them around because people like them. Instead of paying millions of dollars, get 5 or 6 wins that everybody call for his head and repeat the cycle.
All right. Well, thank you for your phone call. Well, in the case of Jamie Chadwell, who interviewed for the job, I think they felt that Ray Tanner felt that he wasn't experienced enough. Had never coached on the FBS level, even as an assistant. Just did not feel like he was experienced enough from that standpoint to step up to the SEC as a head coach at this time. Liked him a lot, but just didn't feel like, because he had no experience at the level, that was the way to go.
Now, the level being FBS or the Power 5 level?
Yeah.
He's sitting on an FBS
That's what I mean. Yeah, Power 5. Yeah, The highest level. And then
he's got more experience than Shane Beamer does, regardless.
Well, he's talking. Well, yeah, but he's talking about he had never coached at the Power 5 level.
Right.
You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Coaching. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
head coaching. Just coaching.
Just coaching. Period. I don't think Jamie's ever been in a Power 5 program. Yeah. And of course, Beamer has years of experience as an assistant at that level, and that was in his favor. And of course, he had the backing of a lot of people inside the program and former players. And look, I'm not judging the hire right now. It's way, way, way too soon to do that. I mean, Shane Beamer continues to say all the right things. He continues to shine a positive light on the program, even in the losses. I mean, he's very good at make you feel better about things after a loss. Continues to praise his players and build on the positive side, which is the way you have to do it. That's the way you have to do it. He's not going to crack negatively on his coaches and his players, at least not publicly. I don't know what's happening behind closed doors. He's trying to hold the team together, and positive thinking and positive talking is the way to do that, even if maybe you realize it goes against the general concept of what's going on with your program. You know, people aren't blind, okay? Now, you do hurt your credibility when you try to put a positive spin on what happened with first and goal at the 1. When you try to say, you know, I agree with the call and it was great. It was a great call if that's what you're saying, or if that's what you're implying. It was the proper call. It was a good call. No. You can't fool the people that much. Maybe there's some other things along the way in the game that you can spin off and people go, yeah, I get that. Not that. That's too clear, too elementary, too obvious to try to spin off. And then, you know, Napier, from what I understand, back during the process covering it, he wanted some things that they weren't willing to give. He wanted, I think, more in the recruiting department area, more people, more money spent, things like that. From what I understand, during that negotiating time when they were talking to him, that's kind of what he laid out on the table, and apparently they weren't willing to go with all that, and so he sort of took his name out of it at that point in time. So, you know, they interviewed several others. They interviewed Satterfield at Louisville, kind of a veteran coach, and they felt like this was the best hire. Was it a financial thing? You know, did it come down to the money being he's the cheapest guy out there and da-da-da-da-da? Yeah, maybe. Look, they got to look at the bottom line, too. They're paying a ton of money to Muschamp, and it's during a pandemic. You're losing all this money, and you're paying off a coach a heck of a lot of money. And who can you get for what you've got available? And all that might have come into play here. But you know what? Dabo Swinney started working on the cheap at Clemson, on the very cheap. And they said, okay, you know, we'll give you a contract here, and it'll be as you win and accomplish things, you know, you'll get bonuses. It was very heavily laden in that area. And, you know, maybe they're thinking the same thing here with Beamer. Once he starts winning, and assuming he does, winning big, he'll have some incentives in the contract that he can benefit from down the road. I don't think Shane Beamer is worried about any money. From what I understand, his agent, when all this was going down, his agent said, you know, don't take this contract. This is not a contract worthy of an SEC coach. And he was like, you know, I'm taking what they've offered me. I want this job. I'm taking it. And, you know, we're moving forward. And he kind of, from what I was told back then, he sort of finished up the deal himself with Ray Tanner by saying, hey, I'm taking the deal, even though the agent might have been telling him not to do so. Let him negotiate some more money for him, and et cetera, et cetera. He was like, no, this was fine. So I don't think that he believed or was concerned about what the financial considerations were. They were fine for him at that time, and he wants to prove himself. And if he proves himself, you know, he'll get a more lucrative deal next time around.
And also, shouldn't that weigh into it a little bit? Here's a guy who wanted to be at South Carolina. I'm not sure I don't know that Billy Napier really wanted to be at South Carolina. It's an SEC opportunity. I'm sure he would have taken it had all the terms come together. But you wonder if he had taken the job, and then let's say Tennessee were to open up, or LSU were to open up, would he want to jump ship again for another job that he deemed as better? I just don't see Shane Beamer, if he's successful. I think he's hoping to lay down roots in Columbia for a long, long time. And I think that probably played and weighed heavily on the decision to bring him in.
I agree. Thank you for your phone call, 888-898-2525. I guess we'll stick with the calls here as we go to Ken here in Columbia. Ken, welcome in. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk.
Good to be with you guys. I think I have to worry about Coach Beamer being in a soup line anytime soon. I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And also, I think that South Carolina's going to be okay. I think their chances are going to be good this week. Excellent against Vanderbilt coming up. I think they can beat Missouri. And, the rest of the games of the season, Auburn, Clemson, and who else they got? Auburn, Clemson.
Florida.
Coming in, Florida. I mean, and the way Clemson's playing, and by being a rival game, last game of the season at home, based on how Clemson's played thus far, they may have a chance to pull that win out. That would be so sweet to get bowl eligible by beating Clemson.
The Gamecocks would sign up for that today.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter where they would go. They could go to the Independence Bowl. They'd go to Shreveport. They'd go to Mobile. They'd go Myrtle Beach. They'd go anywhere if they can get into a bowl game, extra practice, and just a sign of stepping forward here from where they've been the last 2 years. I'm sure they would sign up for that.
One other quick question. How is Alabama still in the top 5? Based on what you saw on Saturday night and the way they played, they look to me maybe a top 10 team, if not a top 15 team.
Well, the polls are very subjective. Reputation carries a lot of weight. I mean, Alabama has to really flop to drop greatly in the polls, I would say, Chris. And, losing the way they did on a field goal at the very end on the road against, an SEC opponent who had suffered a couple of losses, but is still considered a pretty good team by and large, playing with a backup quarterback who played his heart out and played great. I don't think the voters wanted to punish Alabama severely for that kind of loss, just like with Clemson. Clemson only fell to 6th, I think, after they lost to Georgia. So, again, reputation, it's subjective. What your program's done the last 4 or 5 years, that comes into play when you make that vote.
Yeah, with Alabama in the last 10 years, a lot of people give them a lot of crap for not getting all this credit, but they get this credit and this benefit of the doubt because they when they're in those games, they're winning national championships. The same way with Clemson is concerned as well. So enjoy the show, guys, and I'll continue to listen off the air.
Thank you. It's just like, was it Pat that said this off the air, or was it you? It's hard to look at the poll and see Cincinnati ahead of Alabama. It just doesn't look right.
Well, and if you wanted to really parse it down and look, all right, let's get critical. Alabama is the first one-loss team in the poll at number 5. Are they better than Ohio State, who's right behind them at 6? Are they better than Penn State, who just lost to Iowa at number 7? Are they better than Michigan, who's undefeated, but they're sitting at 8? And then you start moving down the list. Unfortunately,
playing on a neutral site that Cincinnati would beat Alabama.
I don't think so, no.
We'll see. That's what comes in the minds of the voters,
Yep.
And what's the playoff committee going to think when they get around to that?
They are going to figure out a way. If Cincinnati runs the table, wins the American, and is undefeated and sits there at 3, the final poll will have them sitting at 5. You can go ahead and mark that down because they will not want to deal with Cincinnati. It'll be unfair, but that's going to be the case. Cincinnati has no shot to play in the college football playoff. I think that's unfair. They are going to do everything they possibly can. They've beaten Notre Dame. I mean, they've got the big win that a G5 team needs to have, but they're not going to be sitting there at 3 come the end of the season. I can guarantee that.
The only argument I would make against what you were just saying, Chris, it would be Penn State. When their quarterback Sean Clifford was knocked out of that game against Iowa on the road, they were up 17-3.
That's a good point.
They were dominating Iowa on both sides of the ball, and then without their quarterback, they took a giant step back. Alabama lost on the road to Texas A&M, who was a preseason college football playoff contender, who's now been playing their last 3 games without their starting quarterback. So I would almost argue that's a more impressive win and worse loss for Alabama than Penn State losing to a top 5 team on the road.
Oh, no doubt.
All right, thank you for your phone call. We are about to get edumacated on football from our man, Zach Willis. It's 1st and 10 with Zach Willis coming up. We'll get his thoughts about what he saw in Knoxville on Saturday. Back in a moment.
On 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. A clear, cool evening with a low temp dipping down to 61. Tomorrow, even nicer than today with mostly sunny skies and a high temp reaching 81. We'll start to warm up on Wednesday with 85-hour high. And summer returns the rest of the week as we hit the upper 80s Thursday and Friday. No rain scheduled. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's not too late to purchase your Clemson football tickets. Lock in your seat for one of our remaining home games by visiting ClemsonTigers.com/football tickets. That's your one-stop shop for tickets, schedule, and game day designations. Be sure and act now as tickets are going fast. So come back home to Clemson, and we'll see you in Death Valley cheering on our Tigers. That's ClemsonTigers.com/football tickets.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Drug maker Merck has asked U.S. regulators to authorize its promising antiviral pill against COVID-19, setting the stage for a decision within weeks. If cleared by the Food and Drug Administration, it would be the first pill shown to treat COVID-19, adding a new easy-to-use weapon to the world's arsenal against the pandemic. The FDA will scrutinize company data on the drug's safety and effectiveness before rendering a decision. All COVID-19 drugs now authorized by the FDA require an IV or an injection. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 250 points, the Nasdaq dropping 93, the S&P 500 lower by 30. Oil topped $80 a barrel, closing out at $80.52. More on these stories at srnnews.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Kevin Cohen here with Tim Hanberry from Medicare Blueprint. So, Tim, it is open enrollment now for Medicare. How does that impact our listeners at the point?
Well, Kevin, now's the time for you to review your Medicare Advantage plan because they can and do change each year. You'll need to make sure that your prescriptions are still covered and at what cost. So what should you do? First, give us a call. We'll ask you a few questions. We'll find out what your prescriptions are and what doctors you see. Then we'll find the best plan for you. We'll do all the work for you. We'll even make sure to show you all the additional benefits you're entitled to.
Yeah, listen, I called Tim and his team, and it's just like he says. We've cut our healthcare costs considerably. So don't waste time. Don't waste this opportunity during open enrollment. Give Tim a call at Medicare Blueprint, 803-708-7405, or find him online at MedicareBlueprint.com. That's 708-7405 or MedicareBlueprint.com.
Deer season is here and we all want to be successful, but our safety should come first.
A simple way to stay safe is to wear Blaze Orange as you walk to and from your stand.
Probably the best way to stay safe is to wear a safety harness.
Put it on, hook it up to a lifeline, and let the tree keep you safe from a fall during your hunt.
Lastly, always use your binoculars and not your rifle scope to look at and identify things while you're deer hunting. Woods and Water, South Carolina, your hosts Roger and Taylor Metz want you to be around to enjoy many deer seasons to come.
Just remember, the accident you might prevent, the life you might save, just might be your own.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. Is it me, or does life speed by so much faster this time of year? Your calendar fills up so quickly. Then before you know it, you're scratching your head when you see Christmas decorations for sale at Lowe's. How do you stay connected? Well, thanks for asking. We have the answer. It's fondue. Come in for reconnecting time. Have 4 courses, or just chocolate, or just cheese. We are here for you. 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. The Melting Pot.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Rocking and rolling here on a Monday after, here on Sports Talk after a big, big weekend. I'm glad you're with us. And it is now time to dive more deeply into the world of deep football thinking. No one better to bring in for that than our man here at First and 10 with Zach Willis, the coach. Zach Willis. That's why it's called First and 10 with Zach Willis, because Zach Willis is the star. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I've never been a star of anything, Phil, so thanks for saying that, man. Childhood dream come true.
Glad we could make you feel good. All right, look, I know you're going to probably agree with us. Maybe not, but I'm assuming you're going to agree that, we've been highly critical of the call there on first and goal at the 1 and what should happen here, what should happen there. And I'm assuming that you'd probably agree. Maybe not. What do you think as a guy that's been a play caller, a head coach, and that, just the whole scenario that got him down there and then they kind of got away from that? What'd you think of what you saw?
Well, as I watched the game, I said, okay, they're finally going to a gap. We talk about zone versus gap schemes all the time. We've been talking about it all through Muschamp's era. And the only way they run the ball is a gap scheme where they down block everybody, kick somebody out. They came in. They were running it well. They were down 14-0. They were sleepwalking. They kind of woke up and found something that was working and really working well. And then they brought an offensive lineman or defensive lineman one with a back jersey into the backfield and ran an ISO all things, which really made me happy. And Harris broke a big run, just literally got physical with Tennessee and hit them in the mouth. And they get down there and they got in the Wildcat. If you remember, they had the Kerryon Joyner back there and try that play. I don't know if that was the first down, second down call, what it was. It was a play before.
It was the first down. It was first and goal. That was the first play they ran. Yeah.
And then they ran the one with the interception. And I just felt like here's the thing. And obviously you guys have already probably analyzed this thing very correctly, I might add, from what I heard. I didn't disagree with anything you said. It's game management. I mean, it doesn't matter. One of the things that kills me was you talking about Jamie Chadwell not having any coaching experience on that level. Football is football. And I get so sick and tired of this snobbery by losing programs that don't give. Jamie Chadwell maybe he does. I bet he don't make that call. I bet Billy Napier don't make that call. You know why? Because they do have experience from first and goal in the 1 yard line. And what I did when I got to a big time ball was a very smart man took me out on the field and said, we got on the goal line at Williams-Brice Stadium. And he said, okay, Zach. He said, from here to here, how far was that at McCall High School? It was 3 feet. He said, how far was it at Furman? It was 3 feet. You know what? It's still 3 feet. Coach the game. Don't worry about how many butts are in the stands. These are still kids. They're bigger and faster. They're able to do more, not less. And don't worry, it's football. It's blocking, tackling, ball security, and good special teams. And that's what it comes down to. And this is ridiculous. And that's what Coach Beamer, and he may get it. I hope he does. But he has zero experience in game management. He said, we had a script. We practiced it all week. Well, hey, how about open your eyes, put your big boy pants on, because Daddy's not there to help you. Now, I'm going to be honest here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It doesn't matter who's in the stands or what your last name is. Hey, you're running the football. Run the ball, score the touchdown, and see where it takes you. Instead, you call 2 boneheaded plays. And you know what? The kids saw it, too, because they quit. Okay? He got them back at halftime. I'll give him credit. But the problem was it was 35-0. They collapsed. And I've seen that one time before when I was on staff and we tried to play like that against Clemson. We were winning the game. And we never got the team back. Okay, I learned a long time ago the KISS principle when I was an Army Ranger, ROTC. KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. And I'll keep the stupid directed at myself for right now. But somebody should have said, hey, and maybe Pete Limbo, who is a winning head coach and is all right, probably the most qualified coach on that staff. He's responsible for getting them back because he's the one that took care. They call it Beamer ball. It's Limbo ball. Pete's a pretty good special teams coach, and I'm so tired of giving Frank Beamer credit. They need to get away from that if they want this guy to develop into a head coach.
Yeah.
And I think he sounds like a really nice person. I hope he is. But that game management, that was somebody should have stepped in and said, no, we don't need to do this. It should be the head coach doing it. But you know what I coached when I was a GA at 26 years old at South Carolina? I coached the tight ends. Okay, he coached tight ends at Oklahoma. I didn't have a whole lot of responsibility on game day. Okay, and the thing is that that's exactly the same responsibility he bore. And they've tried to gin this thing up any way they want to, but it's on the job training field, and we saw it. It's going to happen again and again and again. They just need to sit down and be patient with them. They made their bed. They've got to lie in it. He got the job. He took the low pay. They need to give the man a chance, but he's on the job training. He has no experience to draw from when it comes to this sort of thing. I think he'll grow from it, but the Gamecock fans, the media, everybody is going to have to be patient with him, and I hope they will be.
So the big negative was that. The big negative was not really being prepared. What did you see defensively? I didn't think they had obviously weren't prepared. They had a good game plan for Tennessee's offense in the first quarter, and even on deeply into they did slow them down, I guess. They scored 28, and then it was 35, and then, they scored 10 more points after that. A couple of turnovers hurt, of course. The bonehead called out the
I think it was. I mean, I'll say two things. Tennessee put up 63 the week before. Josh Heupel's a very good offensive coach. He's got a good staff. They've got good minds there. The safety is a critical position. We always call it the quarterback of our defense. The really smart guys usually play back there, and Roderick's been a good player for him. I think that was a huge part of it. And honestly, feel the effort. You and I talked about this. I mean, when we say somebody quit, we don't mean, okay, I quit, I leave. But mentally and emotionally, they didn't look like they were ready to play out of the gate. And I think they got a little bit just shell-shocked when that turn of momentum. They've got a young-minded team. No matter if it's a senior out there, these kids have known nothing but failure for the last several years. I was very impressed with the way they got them back at halftime. And I think that's what we need to focus on, because I thought they were doing. I thought they might score 60 on South Carolina. But and the huge call was Limbo's call to go for the fake punt. And I want to give credit where credit due. I've been a special teams coordinator. I know what kind of responsibility that carries, and the staff model he's using. Pete Limbo is an excellent coach, and he should get credit for what he did there. Great execution by a punter, excellent pass, great catch by a walk-on. Really good job coaching him up there at the gunner position. And I don't want to say it saved the game, but what it did was, as you're building off a losing program, I think it saved their momentum. I think it saved the kids' confidence in the coaching staff and themselves. And at least they were able to walk out there with at least a semblance of respect. And that's a big deal. I mean, I lost games like that when I was building programs at a smaller level, and I've been on staffs where we turn things around at the bigger level. In those games, you got to look for moral victories. Nobody likes them, but you need them. And I felt like they were able to put a little bit together. Not great. Obviously, it was a bad loss. But for this South Carolina team, we need to take it when we can get it any time. And I wasn't expecting to win that game. The call at the goal line exacerbated everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
1st and 10 tonight with Zach Willis here on a Monday on Sports Talk. And, Coach, you've talked about this a couple of times about the kids maybe losing some confidence, and they got them back at halftime. If you're Shane Beamer and you realize that you guys on the offensive side of the coin made a mistake, the players obviously can understand that. But can you go to your team afterwards and apologize to your team for making that call, or does that make matters worse?
No, you better. If you want to have any respect from them, these are young men we're talking about here. These are highly talented, highly skilled athletes. They're not dummies. They didn't get there. Luke Doty didn't get there by being a dummy. We know he's not a dummy anyway. Look at his grades, okay? So what you do, the only thing you can do is get up in front of that football team and apologize. If you want to have a chance at all, true respect comes from a man who is a leader that can humble himself. Say, guys, I made a mistake. He should come to the media and say, look, Phil knew immediately. You knew immediately. That was, as Phil called it, a boneheaded play. The best thing, people respond to humility. People respond to people who take responsibility in a very positive way because it's so rare. And hopefully he'll do that, or if he hadn't already, and we'll put this behind us and move on. If he lets it linger, it can be like a chain around his neck the rest of this year. So hopefully he'll just, hey, it was a bad call on my part, my fault. If he has the right, the plays all run through him. Hopefully, at least he hears them and say, hey, my bad, guys, we made a mistake there. We'll get better this week. That would be my approach. Just take it like a man.
Zach, as always, we appreciate it, and have yourself a great week. Next week, you'll have two to break down: Clemson, Syracuse, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. We'll see how things go, and we will talk to you next Monday.
Let's look for them to bounce back strong against the doors. Y'all have a good one.
Well, I would hope
Thanks,
so.
Coach.
I mean, Vandy is practically last in every team category in the SEC. So if the Gamecocks don't take care of business and take care of business impressively, I would be highly, highly surprised about that. I would think they'll have the team homecoming, ready to play, and get that win. Look, there is a road to 6 wins. There is. But you got to play a lot better. Are they capable of playing a lot better? Yeah. But are they capable of stepping up a couple of notches? We'll be back.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Every day, you make choices that protect your family. At Farm Bureau Insurance, we're here to help make some of those choices easier. Your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent is on hand to provide the reassurance and protection you need. Call today for your free no-obligation review for auto, home, and life insurance that's custom-tailored just for you.
Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, covering Lawrence, Clinton, Joanna, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
South Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Casualty Insurance Company, Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi.
Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/vaxfax.
I'm simply amazed by some things I see and hear in this world. Time for recruiting. Brought to you by Seawells. Nothing about Seawells amazes me because I have high expectations, and they meet those expectations. They have high standards. Great, not best, great, supreme, superior. That is the standard at Seawells. They meet it every single day. You can check it out for yourself. Their daily luncheon buffet, 11 to 2 tomorrow, rest of the week, and food's delicious, layout's delicious. Well, the layout's not delicious, but I mean the layout is very nice and comfortable and safe, and food is delicious.
It is clean enough you could eat off the floor, though.
And I've done that.
If you want to go that route.
10-second rule. You know the 10-second rule. So I live by the 10-second rule. But you know what? At Seawells, it's so clean, you can do 20 seconds and you're still good.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the best in the food catering business, Seawells. 803-771-7385 is their number. So recap of the weekend and looking ahead, well, the wait is almost over. Tight end Oscar Delp, 6 o'clock on Wednesday, Snellville, Georgia. No, he's not Snellville. I'm sorry. That would be Cumming, Georgia. And he's going to have his announcement. 6 p.m. at his school, USC, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, been the Final Four. He took visits to the 3 southern schools in September and October. Georgia has long been thought to be the favorite. Should Clemson not get him, Tigers are expected to move quickly with an offer to tight end Josh Sapp of Greenville. He visited for the Boston College game and tweeted a few days later that some big news was coming. He had been made aware by Clemson tight ends coach Tony Elliott that he was next in line after Delp. Of course, he's the son of former Tiger quarterback Patrick Sapp. A second major USC target, receiver Jaden Gibson of Winter Park, Florida, will also announce on Wednesday, 2:30. His short list has been USC, Florida, Georgia, Miami, Florida State, Baylor, Auburn, Tennessee. Florida has been the perceived favorite. Clemson quarterback commitment Cade Klubnik of Austin, Texas, suffered a separation of his non-throwing shoulder in his game Friday night. He'll miss the rest of the regular season. The hope by his coaches is he'll be able to return by the playoffs. USC target wide receiver Dane Key of Lexington, Kentucky plans to announce his commitment. I got stuck on the word. October 28th. He announced his commitment October 28th. Also on his top list have been Kentucky, Virginia, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Oregon, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, and Purdue. Took an official visit to USC in the summer, was back for the Kentucky game. His father played at Kentucky. Hard to think he won't pick Kentucky the way things are going there. USC target receiver Caleb Webb of Powder Springs, Georgia, committed to ECU, was offered by Houston. Friday, Greer native Jaleel Skinner of IMG Academy committed to Alabama. Former Hammond offensive lineman Drew Bobo, now at Auburn High in Alabama, committed to Auburn. His father, of course, Mike Bobo, the OC there. 2023 corner Trevon West of Wren was offered by Virginia Tech. He was there Saturday. Basketball, you know, when you weren't paying attention while the football games were being played on Saturday, Clemson picked up a basketball commitment from somebody we've been following, it is Chauncey Gibson, 6'6" guard, 6'5", 6'6" guard out of Dallas. Chose Clemson over SMU and ODU, plus Texas Tech showed some interest. He had visited Clemson over the weekend. He averaged 18 points per game last season, 23 in the playoffs. 6'8" Julian Phillips of Blythewood, now in Missouri, committed to LSU Friday. 6'6" Jordan Surratt of Dorman committed to Upstate. And Duke assistants were in to see 6'6", make that 6'8", G.G. Jackson of Ridgeview last week. And Jackson went to Virginia Tech Saturday along with 2024 6'5" Cam Scott of Lexington. Let me stop. Quickly around the horn. And then Monday with Mick.
And presented every night by Farm Bureau Insurance as we are neck deep in the playoffs now. You can contact with Buddy Bridges and Lawrence at 864-923-2174. And Alex Satterfield, of course, in Columbia at 803-749-9171. Quick update on the National League and American League Divisional Series postponed earlier today due to weather. Houston and the White Sox, they'll try and play tomorrow. Astros lead that best-of-5 series 2-1. Meantime, the Braves got a 2-1 lead over Milwaukee with a 3-0 win this afternoon, thanks in large part to Jock Peterson with a 3-run home run in the 5th inning to account for all the runs. As a matter of fact, David O'Brien, who covers the Braves, pointing out today on Twitter that the Braves have scored 7 runs in the series. Peterson has driven in 4 of them with 2 home runs, and they were both pinch hit home runs. And coming up a little bit later on tonight in the NLDS, you've got San Francisco at the Dodgers. Right now, bottom of the 3rd. No score between Tampa and Boston as the Red Sox try and finish off the race. And by the way, when the Dodgers step to the field tonight, Phil, Albert Pujols is going to be starting at first base for Los Angeles.
Nice.
Yeah, Dodgers are going to use their mostly right-handed hitters against San Francisco's Alex Wood tonight. And that is a quick check around the horn presented by Farm Bureau Insurance.
to get to the 45 of the Eagles for a first down. Snap to Hubbard, waits, or to Darnold, rather, waste time. Throwing up and out to the left, intercepted. Nelson in front of the Eagle bench area. Nelson picked it off at the 43, and that's costly.
All right, Mick Mixon, voice of the Panthers. Too much of that yesterday, even to beat a mediocre team like the Eagles. You can't throw 3 picks.
Yeah, those were expensive, Corn, all those interceptions. You take the ball away. I mean, think about what the Panthers did yesterday. You got a defensive score, the safety, which could have been a touchdown. You don't block a punt, but you affect a punt. Ended up being about a 19, 16-yard punt, something like that. You intercept them twice, yet do not win. And that was this remains one of the most painful, just injurious, it feels like a death almost. I'm not trying to overstate it.
Yeah.
The Panthers should be fine. If you win this week, get back on serve, you're 4-2 after 6 games. Most people would have taken that preseason, but daggum Corn. The Panthers had that game. Should have closed the deal, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, I know it's not your position as play-by-play guy to, criticize players or suggest anything, but, saw a major article today from an NFL guy, CBSSports.com, suggesting heavily that your owner there is really going to make a push now for Deshaun Watson. Does not believe Darnold is the answer for the immediate time or the future. Is there some shakiness there that you can pick up around the organization about quarterback? What do you think is going to happen there, if anything?
Great question, and I don't know. I know that this is what I think. I don't know, but I'm just going to tell you what I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold, if he's got some protection, can function. He can take you places. We've seen that. Bring back Christian McCaffrey, get him healthy, get Robbie Anderson back involved in the passing game. Have Sam Darnold take that first read. I think one of the things Matt Rule said today was that first read when he's going through his progressions, if that's there, take it. Hold on to the ball with a leaky O-line. Bad things happen. So I don't think that the Panthers are in bad shape at quarterback. But then again, Mother Nature only gives you a few Deshaun Watson-like talents every several 100 million births. But I mean, so I don't know. But I think it's still pretty toxic around him. But I don't know. What would you guys do? How are you reading?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to say this. I mean, you don't know if you acquire him if he's going to play, because you don't know when the NFL is going to step in and suspend him or put him on the exempt list or whatever. So you might think you're getting him, but then you're not getting him because of all this off the field, all these accusations that continue to hang over him. What's the league going to do at some point?
Well said. And there's a price at which a team, and I'm not speaking about my prime.
Yep.
Did we lose him?
Oh, no. It's been one of the teams
there he is.
That has thought about it. And, but there's a price at which somebody will take a chance on him. A football coach one time told me years ago, said, if Vlad the Impaler or Attila the Hun or Ivan the Terrible could play quarterback, some NFL team would make a place for him.
I don't know that Deshaun Watson would qualify as vampire, but we'll see what happens. Mick, you mentioned him a couple of moments ago, and quickly, Robbie Anderson was unafraid to make some comments yesterday about not being targeted enough. Watching yesterday's ball game, did he have a beef?
Matt Rule addressed this. It doesn't matter what I think. Matt Rule addressed it and said he's fine with it so long as it's not personal, player on coach, coach on player, that this is just what you're going to have is receivers who want the ball. Robbie Anderson needs the ball. Matt Rule said as much. Need to get him involved in the offense. That said, Coach Rule pointed out that Robbie Anderson could have caught a couple of the ones that came his way. So a lot of healthy give and take.
Okay, I hope Happy Times return soon, Mick. We thank you as always. Have a great show tonight. We'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. And thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pat. Talking Tuesday tomorrow. Much more to talk about. We'll see you then.
And evening, Columbia's local talk radio experience. 107 The Point.
Make thepointradio.com.
The Point. The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio.